This is a tutorial for section T8. Find properties of a parabola from equations in general form, Algebra 2. Number 1. In which direction does the parabola y plus 4x squared equals 0 open? This is an easy problem, but the first thing we have to do is rearrange some things so we actually have it in y equals form. Since we see that the x is squared, it needs to be on the right side, leaving y by itself on the left side. To do that, we would subtract 4x squared from both sides, leaving us with y equals negative 4x squared. Our negative 4 would be our a value, and since it's a y equals, it either opens up or down. Since it's negative, down is the correct answer. Number 2. In which direction does the parabola x plus y squared equals 6 open? Again, we're going to have to rearrange some things to find the answer. Y is what's being squared, so it should be on the right, leaving x equals by itself on the left. To do that, we subtract y squared from both sides, leaving us with x equals negative y squared plus 6. Since this is an x equals equation, we know it either opens left or right. Since it's a negative y squared, it opens left. Number 3. What is the vertex of the parabola y equals 10x squared, y minus 10x squared equals 11? So we'll first rearrange this again, subtracting 10x squared from both sides, y equals 10x. There's nothing with x or outside of that, so there's no h or k values, so our vertex must be at the origin 0, 0. Number 4. What is the vertex of the parabola negative 5y equals x squared minus 2x minus 29? So the first thing to do here is ignore this negative 5 and deal with it at the end. So only look at the right side. So x squared minus 2x minus 29. Just like we did in section T7, you're going to complete the square by taking your b term divided by 2 squared, which left us with 1. We will add 1 to the first two terms and subtract 1 from the c. That leaves us with x squared minus 2x plus 1 in parentheses, and then negative 30 as our c term. This is now something that we can factor, so we look for a number that when added to itself gives us negative 2, but when multiplied by itself gives us 1. So that would be x minus 1 squared minus 30. So now that we've dealt with all of the right side, we want to go back and make sure the y is by itself. So we divide both sides by negative 5 to cancel out this and leave y by itself. Once we do that, it would be negative 1/5, because it's understood that there's a 1 there for our a term. So negative 1/5 x minus 1 squared, and then negative 30 divided by negative 5 is positive 6. So all of that to figure out what our vertex was. Our vertex, remember, is h, k, and we have to swap the sign. So since this was a negative 1, it would be positive 1, and then our k is 6. Number 5. What is the vertex of the parabola y minus x squared equals 0? First, we need to add x squared to both sides to get it in the correct form. Since we see no h or k, we know that the vertex is at the origin, so 0, 0 is our vertex. Number 6. What is the vertex of the parabola negative 2x equals y squared minus 6y plus 3? So we'll rewrite this, and just like before, we're going to leave that negative 2 over here, not worry about it yet. So we complete the square. 9 is that magic number that we're now adding to the first two terms and subtracting from the c. Once we do this little math problem, we're down to this line. Then we have to factor what's in parentheses. So minus 3, when added to itself, would give us negative 6, and negative 3 squared would give us 9. So that's our perfect number here. So y minus 3 squared minus 6. Now we can deal with that negative 2. So we divide both sides by -2 to cancel it out, leaving x by itself. Since it's understood that there's a 1 for our a value, we now have -1/2 multiplied by y minus 3 squared, and then -6 divided by -2 is +3. So remember, our question was, what's the vertex? Now that it's in this form, we can see that our h and our k, 3, 3, would be where our vertex is located. One more page of sample problems. Number 7. What is the vertex of the parabola y plus 8x squared equals 6? First we rearrange it, so we subtract 8x squared from both sides. So now that we have it in this form, we see that there's nothing with our x, so that value is 0, and then the k is 6, so 0, 6 is the vertex. Number 8. What is the axis of symmetry of the parabola -2y equals x squared minus 8x plus 12? So first we need to rewrite this problem. We'll have to complete the square in order to solve this problem here. So -8 is our b, divided by 2 squared gives us 64 divided by 4, which is 16. So we add that to our first two terms and subtract it from our c on the outside. Once we do that, we need to factor what's inside parentheses, which would leave us with x minus 4 squared minus 4. Now we can come back and deal with the -2. Divide both sides by -2, so it will cancel out on the left, leaving only y. Once we divide it here, that invisible math tells us there's a 1 there for our a value. So -1/2 x minus 4 squared, and then -4 divided by -2 is a +2. So the original question was, what is the axis of symmetry? So I could actually sketch out this problem. I know now what the vertex is, so I can plot the vertex because I see from here that my vertex is at +4, 2, right? So I didn't label it here, but I can. If that helps, +4, 2. It is a y equals type of problem, so it either opens up or down. Since this is negative, it opens down, so that axis of symmetry that would cut it in half is located at that x equals 4. So that's our final answer. Number 9, what is the vertex of the parabola x equals -y squared plus 6y minus 16? So we start off here. One thing that we want to do is move that negative to the outside. So to pull that out, we would then flip our signs, right? So we took out the negative, so we changed from our +6y to -6y. And then we use that 6 to find that was our b. So we find this magic number that we can add to the first two terms and then subtract from the outside. And then, but we had to flip those signs, remember. Here, we then have -y squared minus 6y plus 9 plus 7 after we did this part. So +7, and then we have to factor what's in parentheses. So -y minus 3 squared plus 7 would give us, since this was negative, we have -7, 3 as our ordered pair for the vertex. Number 10. What is the vertex of the parabola 5x minus y squared equals -30? So we copy this down. This one is already, once we add y squared to both sides, then we divide both sides by 5, leaving x by itself. We get 1/5 y squared minus 6. Our vertex then is at -6, 0, because there was no k value on the outside. Our last one, what is the axis of symmetry of the parabola y minus 5x squared equals 4? So we rewrite this as y equals +5x squared plus 4 because we added 5x squared to both sides. You can sketch that out if you want. You'll see that your vertex then is at 0, 4. So then the axis of symmetry is the y-axis, and the formula for that is x equals 0. And that's it.